Hello and welcome along to another Ground Effect podcast. Today we're going to be reviewing the Austrian Grand Prix, of course, the 10-turn, shortest track on the calendar in the Styrian Hills. And again, as always, I'm joined by the Austrian. Atom, how are you?
Hello, yeah, I'm good. And as you just said, going through the action from the shortest track on the calendar, shortest lap. Probably not even 10 actual corners, and I can't wait to go through all the results and data from my home race, actually.
I was just thinking ahead as you were saying it. I think there's only 7 braking zone, and that's being pedantic. So you've got turn 1, and then you've got turn 3 at the top of the hill, of course, turn 4, and then turn 6 is kind of a lift off, but a little bit of brake. Then turn 7 as well as a little bit of brake. But again, it's just really just like a little dab, and it might just be a lift off depending on how you take corner. And then 9 again is a little bit of a flick. You don't really brake much, and then 10 you brake a bit. It's final corner. So yeah, it's maximum 7 braking zones. So that's basically 7 corners. So it really is no real room to differentiate the times. We saw that in Div 1, but we'll come on to that in a minute. But of course, if we have a quick look at the calendar, you can see Austria, first race for 2023, and I definitely think for some of the divisions it really started the year off with a bang, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. In the mixed race we saw not too many familiar faces from the earlier races, to be fair, because you weren't there, Minico wasn't there, Andrew wasn't racing either, so those people we know from the other races, they could probably produce some good results. They weren't there. I could luckily make it, and in the end won the race from P17 on the grid. But behind me there was a very interesting find. So around the pit stop behind me we had Kel, Exotic, Dan, and I think also Patty's Life, who were fighting for second, third, fourth, and fifth in this race. And in the end, Kel got second because he didn't have any time penalties. Dan forgot his setup, so he raced on a preset, which he wasn't too amused about. And Exotic, I was gutted for him because he was leading the race at one stage, but then suddenly spun off, which didn't help his cause for sure. And then also some good points for J Street, Mora, also known as Tifosi and Joya, Ricky Bobby, Hanf Cannon and Lastmarfuck. So definitely was an interesting race. We could see different people at the front fighting for high points paying positions, and was definitely some good practice for everyone who participated.
Yeah, definitely. And mixed race tier. The mixed tier races, there we go, they're the words I'm finding. The mixed tier races are always fun, aren't they? They always bring some surprises, some good racing. It's one to, if they're able to be screened, it's one to look out for on a Sunday. But if you can race in that, do, because it's a lot of fun on a Sunday evening. But let's move on to the F1 divisions then. On the main divisions, Div 1 through 7, we'll start with Division 1. And for those of you who watch the stream, and if you haven't watched the stream yet, I really suggest, even though you'll find out the result in seconds, that you go back and watch the race, because it really was a classic. But in the end, it was Alex Barber who took home a debut win for the Alfa Romeo team. Ninja came home second after Sora picked up a 5-second time penalty for the collision with Rage at turn 3. Blade finished in P3, good result for him. B Ford in 4th, again keeping up that run of top 6, 4th to 6th finishes. That's now all 7 races that he's finished between 4th and 6th. He's just so close to that podium. Rage is in 5th after leading more than half of that race, with Rain in 6th. But Atom, I know you've watched the race. I mean, it was a cracker, wasn't it?
Austria was always a bit of a difficult ground for GRL, especially the Division 1s, because we had a bit of scruffy racing there and then the first 2 seasons. But wow, what a race it was this time out. I watched, I think, 2 or 3 times even, because especially in the end, the top 5 up there, Even though we knew it's probably only 2 or 3 drivers who can make the move first because of the DRS train. It was so close and so interesting, especially also where you knew Sora made that mistake for his race, which could potentially put him down the order and make the championship interesting again. We had Alex Baba winning on his debut race, and he definitely showed some pace. Blade picking up a podium, which was very important for his season, and I think he kicked his season off as well recently, because he's only like 30 or 35 points off Sora in the championship. With a bad race for him, that could all change. So yeah, it was an amazing race. With I think had 11 car DRS train in the end, but it was the whole grid I think was in the DRS of each other for quite a while. So that was definitely amazing, and I think he's in the top 3 GRL races we had so far, with the 2 British Grand Prix we had in Season 2 and Season 3. So that was really enjoyable to watch. But yeah, Sora still leads. I mean, B4 still in the top, like P4, P5, or P6 every race. I don't know what the man smokes, but I want some stuff of it because the consistency is amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Ninja now in 3rd, sadly has to drop to reserve because of some other commitments. Because I think he probably would have had a chance against Sora, because he got his consistency up a bit more compared to last season, because when he raced, he really was up top. And Rain is he got spun actually at the beginning and got wing damage, and still fought his way back up. Just a time penalty cost him in the end to Blade and Beeford, I think. So I think it was almost those 5 in the DRS train if you exchange Beeford with Alex Baba. So I think those 5 will definitely deliver some great stuff in the future.
And I mean, for a time, there was a train of 15, there was a train of 10, and in the last few laps we had a train of 6 or 7, and that broke up a bit to a train of 5. But there was always, I don't think the leader was ever more than a second in front of second place at all. Which is incredible, and it showed how tight it was. But let's have a look at what that's done to the championship. There we go. But Sora does continue to lead, reduced slightly though to B4. Again, he's second in the championship and hasn't had a podium yet. As you said, Ginger Ninja will drop to reserve, which is a real shame, but he moves up to 3rd. Rain slips down to 4th slightly. Blade and Drazzy now pretty much on level pegging points, 16.59. Michael Dale didn't attend, slips down a bit. Rage moves up. And Alex Barber there, you can see just the one win and move himself straight into the top 10. But yeah, and also with the constructors, Red Bull keep managing to stay in front, but Alfa Romeo are still there, and they're coming really, aren't they?
Yeah. It's the division that saves them probably, because I think they're now 8th or 9th in the constructors, and they are one of the teams that really missed that few points to the top pack, let's say, in the overall constructors. And in Division 1 they're really performing well with Ninja and Gary so far, and now as Ninja stepped down to reserve, you probably think, oh no, that will hurt them, but they now got the replacement with Alex Baba, who just won his first race, so I guess they'll still stay on the rear views of the Red Bulls and fight with them and the Williams team for the top position in the constructors, even though I wouldn't count Alpine out behind them either.
No, definitely not, and yeah, but Div 1, as always, heating right up, and I'm so excited for Abu Dhabi. I mean, it's a track where you always get good racing, Abu Dhabi. Not necessarily one that you'd expect good racing, but the fact that you have those 2 DRS zones mean that you can get people staying within the 1 second gap, and a lot of moves being made, sometimes into turn 6 at the hairpin, sometimes into turn 9, so I'm really excited to see who's going to come out on top there.
Yeah. I mean, what I really like about the Abu Dhabi races, especially now we have it mid-season actually, not at the start and not at the beginning like in the other 2 seasons. when you have the start of the race, especially for Division 1 race, where it's all very intense, and you have this helicopter shot with the light in the evening going into midnight of Abu Dhabi, and you see those 20 cars really gunning for leading out of turn 1 in a very important race, because if you lead, it's probably a bit easier considering the DRS train. So I really can't wait to watch that race after my Division 2 race as well. So that's definitely going to be a very good race again, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll have to see if Partick can make it 2 in a row. Recent form wouldn't suggest
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, will be exciting. But that's Division 1 covered for you. We'll move on to Div 2, and this is one that you can talk about a bit better, because you're in Division 2 now, aren't you? But it was Slapbus who won your race. Dan in second, Clever in third, you yourself in fourth, Panosh in fifth. I mean, it's a GSR domination apart from Slapbus, isn't it? It's 2, 3, 4, 5. Smiley gets into the top 10. Shadow, Distant Bar, Julian, and Lemons as well. Sneaks inside with the point. But look at that. Good results there for Red Bull. Yourself and Dan scoring a good haul of 40 points there. 30 points, I should say, for second and fourth, which gives you a better shot at the constructors. And as you can see, you move closer to Mercedes and Aston Martin. But I mean, it was a good race, wasn't it? I mean, I think there's a lot more to come from Div 2 as well, especially if we can make sure that standards are exactly where we want them to be.
Yeah, I mean, both of us drove quite a good race, I think. We both had damage after lap 1, so considering that, I think we recovered quite well. And there were some other problems for us, considering our front wings and strategy, but I don't want to go too far into that. But yeah, I mean, Slapbus once again. I mean, the man is just unstoppable for now. We need to really think about how we all together can hurt his championship aspirations, because right now he's running away. For us as Red Bull, I mean, we'll probably focus on the team standings, because in the drivers we struggle so far. I mean, I just joined, so I'm not aiming to win the championship, but I'm definitely interested how it will evolve in the next few races. Yeah, it was an interesting race. It was wet at the beginning. We started with Inters, and then for the last 10-15 laps we went to the medium tires. Everyone, I think, it was very interesting because it was these greasy conditions at the beginning where I just don't know whether Inters and mediums are quicker, and everyone was on the dry tires except Lemons, who just passed many people on the Inters, and nobody knew what the best tires now. So definitely was an interesting race to watch back on the GRL Racing League channel on Twitch. So definitely suggest that. But yeah, in the driver standings, as said, Slapbus leads by around 50 points, and then it's pretty much the pack, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you look at it, you got Slapbus and then Distant Bar, and then Otto, Lloyd, Panosh, Dan, Gilly, who's obviously in Div 1 now, Clever, Delta, Skyus. I mean, they're all so close, and I think you could probably jump into there at some point as well, can you?
Yeah, the target is, I think, around Lloyd, because I think I'm slightly quicker than Lloyd, and over the course of more than 10 races left, I think that's a good target to get into that top 10 area. But yeah, Division 2 is the closest division out of all the 9 divisions, actually. Yeah, very interested on Abu Dhabi and how it all will pan out when we go 3 wide, going into a chicane, and try to brake later than everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like I said before, Abu Dhabi is just one of those tracks, isn't it, where you can always guarantee high quality racing. And lots of action. Yeah. So Div 2, I don't think will be any exception to that at all. So I'm looking forward to it. Division 3 then, let's move on to Division 3. And in Div 3, it was SLR Ham who took home his first win in this division after being moved up from Div 4 along with SLR Jam, who finished in 8th. But it was a good result for Jobbo, consistency there from the AlphaTauri driver. Otto in 3rd, Luca in 4th, keeping those those good finishes up. Smoking Cheese in P5, Idealistic P6, and AJ Nolan in P7, double points for Alpine. P8 for, as I said, for Jam. Efrenazo 9th for Williams, making it a double points finish for Williams, but again, minor points there for the second of the Williams cars. And then Alpha Heated in the Ferrari picks up a singular point for them. But again, I have to say, winners of the round are Williams, realistically. I mean, 27 points and a debut win for Ham really can try and push home the advantage that they have. Of course, Ham isn't just quite yet on the top 10 of the driver standings. He's just 1 point off Thomas, who's currently in 10th. But good result again for Smoking Cheese. You see him move up. Jobbo moves a little bit closer to Luca, and they both move closer to Trappy. As Trappy got promoted, didn't he? So realistically, over the rest of the season, Luca and Jobbo will both overtake Trappy. So there's the net P1 in the championship is Luca, who's 7 points behind Trappy. So there's not much in it there. But also Alpine and Williams, you can see it was a big change in the constructors standings. Alpine and Williams both move up. Alfa Romeo still stay in P6 with Mercedes and McLaren moving down from P4 and 5. But again, AlphaTauri gaining a bit more on that Haas team. They're eating away. It's only 16 points in it now. But yeah, still that midfield, constructors battle and midfield, top of the midfield, drivers battle is very, very close, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Ham, him and Jam got promoted, and he at least did immediately what he needed to, which was getting big points. Jam was also fighting for P2 with Efrenazo, but I think in lap 35 or for 36, those two crashed, which didn't help their race, obviously. So Jobbo, the smart driver, and now net P2 in the championship, got up to P2 in the race as well. So I guess he's going to be happy to gain some points. And Luca, who only got 4th, and Otto, for his one-off wheel start race, got 3rd in Division 3. He will be back in Division 2 for next week, obviously. Smoke and Cheese also keeping up the solid results. He said he needs a good result for his confidence on the game, which helps. He's still in the top 10, sitting there quite comfortably. So, but yeah, the main fight, I think, is between Luke and Jobbo now. So it will be interesting how this pans out in the next few rounds, because they seem to be quite similar, but probably not even the quickest drivers, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one to look out for, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's very close, which is definitely good for the championship. And you never know. Maybe someone like Ham could hunt them down, and at the end of the season, we possibly have a three-way fight, which definitely would help the competitivity of this division, I guess.
Yeah, it will definitely. And so Inui and Slide Gang will be covering that on Monday, and they always do a good job. So if you want to watch that either live or post-race, definitely go check that one out, because I'm sure that'll be a good race. We'll move on towards Division 4, and in Division 4, it was Michel who won the race, his first race in Division 4 as well. A good win for that. A good win for him, and it's a good result in general for Williams, who take home 33 points. Jacob Brown finishes second for AlphaTauri, and Twiki Scorpion again double points finish for AlphaTauri as well. They finish on 24 points. So still, I mean, not quite a race win, but very close to, and a lot of points in the bank. Lewis F1 third for Haas, Rex in fourth, and a double points finish for Ferrari, even though granted that's only 13 points in total. Jake's P6, as I mentioned before, and Scorpion P7. Raven West and Andrew, the two Aston Martins in 8th and 9th, and Jamie Hops there in 10th. But, I mean, look at that. There's only, 6 teams who score points in this race. Williams, AlphaTauri, Haas, Ferrari, McLaren, and Aston Martin. So, 4 teams there not scoring at all, and in the championship, it's affected. Well, I mean, it's not really affected because, those teams are down the bottom. But AlphaTauri have really, stormed a lead. That's the word I'm looking for. Over McLaren and Aston Martin. But the gap between Alpine, Alfa Romeo, and Haas is still ridiculously tight. Hops, just with 1 point, is helped by the fact that Ham and Jam have been promoted. Lewis and Jake's getting further up, but it's not really. There wasn't much damage there for Hops' championship lead, was there?
No, not really. I mean, as we said, Ham and Jam were probably a little bit too quick for that division. But I think Hobbs adjusted his pace to their pace a little bit, if this makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I think he just made that extra step up, which the other drivers probably didn't. So that's why I think he extended his championship lead now compared to the other drivers. So it's probably good for the neutral spectator that he had not the best of weekends with only 1 point in the end. After 2 post-race penalties, actually. So Rex gets a bit closer. Andrew only gained 1 point on Hobbs, but it's better than nothing for sure. And he didn't lose anything to the other Ferrari driver. So I hope that this midfield pack, or best of the rest so far, can gain a bit on the championship leader, because I think there's definitely some potential in Division 4 to deliver us a great fight. And as Adam Reed, who usually does the Division 4 stream, said, whatever happens, it could be quite crucial come the end of the season for the Division 4 championship, because you can really not predict it. And also Michel, the first Polish winner in GRL, I'm happy for him that he could finally get a breakthrough result, especially in his debut of Division 4. And yeah, quickly coming to the team standings. I mean, Ferrari walk it so far, but once again, this week was the week for Williams, because they won again, and we'll see that in a couple of other divisions, I think, below that. Williams really had a great week, which definitely helped them, the overall constructors, to jump up to second.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I know it's illustrative, but it just feels like these divisions are getting closer and tighter. You never know what's going to happen. There isn't, even though Hobbs is in the lead here by a decent margin to those that are still here, you still don't want to put any money on it at all, do you? But yeah, Div 4 really looking interesting so far, and 2023 I'm sure will bring it a lot of excitement. Div 5 saw Jakob winning in style in his Alpine. Maka finished in P2 and Mashallah in P3, Lemon P4, Joe Gray P5. Good result for him in the Aston Martin. Batsy 6th, booted 7th. And Aston Frog in 8th, Minx in 9th, and Gaz Buchanan. You feel like he's picking up some plucky points every now and again. He finds himself in 10th, and it's meant that Jakob shoots himself closer to Ronnie Rosie at the top of the Div 5 standings. Maka, Lemon, and Batsy all gain as well. But compared to other divs, you can see that the guys at the top 10 here, have a lot more points than some of the other top 10s. I mean, 36 points is 10th, showing that there are some consistent drivers in this division. So, and, you know, with the season so long, consistency is very much key. So, you look at the likes of Lemon, Batsy, J Street, Asma Frock, who are just in that area. They're at quite similar positions, and you think that they might be able to move up towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they all got podiums pretty much. I mean, Ronnie got promoted. He won a couple times. Jakob now at 2 wins in a row, I believe. Maka got a couple of seconds and thirds. Triangular Lemon got, I think, 1 or 2 podiums as well. Batsy finished 2nd at Spa, I believe it was. J Street won. Astmaf Rock got 2 podiums. Mashallah now got 1 or 2 podiums. AK as well. And Mexican Bob always just finishes around P6, P5, which is also good for him. So I think that's the most points for P10 out of all divisions. So yeah, I think it also helps that basically Division 5 is last year's Division 7 if you not include Andrew. So the drivers really know each other well, because there are not too many new additions to their division, so they know how to race each other. And it's always close racing over there. And yeah, Jakob now got away a little bit from the rest. Same as Maka, who has a 13-point gap to Lemon, but still, I mean, there's everything to play for. And Jakob should really focus still on the drivers behind, because they'll not too easily let them get away with this championship, because you know how close it is. But Ronnie definitely created a gap for his McLaren team. And then down there we've got Alpine and Alfa Romeo set very close, and then it's absolute a melee down there. You because Aston Martin only has 19 points from P9 up to P4 to Red Bull, which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
amazing how close it is.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, ridiculously tight. Everything seems so tight, doesn't it? All the divisions seem so tight. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's why the overall constructors are so close. I think we now got
well,
seven
yeah,
or eight teams within 100 points. That's a swing of 3 wins and a couple of solid points, which Williams did this week. So I think it's definitely possible for a team around P7 to suddenly jump up into the top three.
yes, definitely. So yeah, that's Div 5. Then we'll move on to Div 6 then. And in Div 6, it was Exility, there we go, I got it out finally, who won, and you'll note that that is the third Williams driver to win out of 6 races so far. So Williams really having a strong week. J. Tilburn Ludlow, very, very good week for Aston Martin here. 2nd and 3rd, Echo in 4th, 10th Cannon in 5th, and Daniel Gamer in 6th as Rails 7th. Dubs Gamer 8th, Luzco 9th, and Ace Guy 10th. Ferrari again, not having a very good week this week. But yeah, Aston Martin and Williams, very strong. With Aston Martin taking home 33 points, which is crucial for their championship when you think that they only had 42 before. So, you know, they've really moved up. They've shimmied up the order a bit. And it's helped them out quite a lot. Of course, Exility is his first race, but he's not quite in the top 10 yet, but it's helped 10th Cannon. Azrael and Echo are still very close together. But yeah, the main fight here again is in constructors at the top of the midfield. Alpine, Alfa Romeo, and Aston Martin are now quite close. But also, if you look at the bottom end of the top 10, Ace Guy, Matt Turner, Panda, Ludlow, they're all within 6 points as well. So Div 6 is, you know, Azrael and Echo at the top with 6 points separated. So Div 6 is not, you know, it's not as tight as some of the other divisions. But I think with the addition of new drives over Christmas, it's shaken the order up a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Exility was Division 7 before we made all the switches. Now went up to Division 6, and I was like, yeah, surely that's his division, because he was slightly too quick for Division 7. Now he wins with almost 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And the championship leader, Azrael, even said, why do you put drivers in our division who are clearly too fast for us? And then we said, yeah, I mean, he went up from Division 7. And I was like, wow, that's definitely amazing. So Exility now goes up to Division 5. So he cleared Division 6 quite easily. So he's happy about that, though. So we now can continue with the classic championship fight between the Mercedes of Israel and the Haas team of Echo, who are about 50 points, actually, I think, clear of the rest in the standings. They're now 6 points close to each other, so they're getting closer and closer each round. So I think, as I said last week, that's going to be a very interesting championship fight. And in the midfield, it's once again like Division 5 and 4, so close in the midfield. I mean, Ali lost a couple points compared to 10th Cannon. And then, yeah, it's just the 30s and the 20s in the points who are also close together, which definitely also helps the team standings because it's all quite matched. And then on the top, you have Haas and Mercedes trying to get away a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. But Div 6, it really is one of those ones that you don't really want to predict, and you can't really predict, because it's so... yeah, the order just keeps... It feels like the order keeps getting shaken up, and there's a different winner every week. But yeah, as you said, it looks Exility, great performance and incredible speed. I mean, really fast. Of course, Exility was moved from Div 7, into Div 6, so he's progressing up, hasn't he? So it'll be interesting to see what he can do come the end of the season. So then, the tier that Exility left was Division 7, and in that it was It's Bright who took the win ahead of Kieran and Drizzy. Pat Pedder and Clips Can take home a good result for Red Bull in 4th and 5th. Browns, Buns and Zedman finishing a strong 6th and 7th for AlphaTauri, Sparl in 8th for Williams, terrific game in 9th, and MC Messi in 10th. I feel like Ferrari picking up every 10th place under the sun, but this time they've taken the win as well into the championship. Helps Ferrari catch up a little bit to Aston Martin, and its Bright shoots up into P4, but JTL still leads, Kieran still second, and Clipscam still third. But yeah, there's bigger gaps here, aren't there? And I think it'll take a little bit more for these drivers to catch up to the top couple, won't it?
Yeah. From what I heard, its Bright must have really driven a great race. There was only one safety car, so apparently a very clean race as well, which you wouldn't necessarily expect at Austria, where it's usually quite bunched up. And yeah, it's Bright potentially, if he has a couple of good rounds, he can probably join the championship fight between Kieran and Clipscam, because as said, JT or as we know him, Jack JT, got promoted into Division 6. So I think it's mainly those three, because as said, Kel and Exility got up as well, same as Chicken Rosary. So we've got with Brown Spun someone in a possible net P3, if come the end of the season he can even catch J-Tilp, because he's more than 100 points behind him, and he only scored 25 in 7 rounds. So that's definitely interesting, as we have 6 drivers within 10 points down there, because it's such fine margins. And yeah, in the team standings, as Jack now got promoted, I think it's looking quite good for McLaren. As they still got Kieran, who will deliver them some solid points, I believe. And then Red Bull and Ferrari fighting it out for best of the rest, while we've got Mercedes and AlphaTauri in 45, Alfa Romeo in 41, and it all goes down from there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, which from next week on at Abu Dhabi you can obviously watch, because Miller will, which is greatly appreciated, stream the Division 7 race. So if you want to watch some lower divisions from GRL, you can definitely tune in for there, and I guess it's at least not going to get boring, is it?
No. Oh yeah, but it's great that we now are able to have all the every single tier streamed, which is exactly what we want, because it's lovely to see some racing from all of the divisions, not just the top few. But that is where we complete our a review of the Formula 1 divisions. We can have a quick chat about Formula 2, and it was in Formula 2 that we had some fantastic races. In the sprint race, myself and SLR Nathan were fighting it out on the last lap, and then in the feature race, a combination of mistakes from me, you, and a couple of others, including Gibson's penalty, but he managed to take the gap, I believe, didn't he?
Not enough. I mean, he got the gap of his 5 seconds.
That's it.
Then he got another 3 seconds.
That's it. That's right. But yeah, how close is it now? I forget how close it is now.
I need to switch to my spreadsheet there, actually, because it's all quite tight. Yeah, so you there lead by 146 points after your penalty removal in the feature race. Then we got Gibson in second on 142, with myself on 141. But it's not only 3 people in this championship fight. It's actually around 5, because we've got Blade on 125, so he's less than a feature race win behind P1, and Distant Bard on 90, who can potentially gain back some more points even, because I think if you consider the last 3 races, he was the man who scored the most points. So yeah, just want to quickly come back on the feature race though, because Gibson was trying to pull the gap in the feature race. And while all that happened, the 2 campus drivers of Blade and Nathan weren't really trying to stay in that gap. Now they decided they want to fight it out at the final lap, when they only had to lose around 1 second. So Gibson only finished 3 tenths off the lead in the end, and Blade won by 71,000 off Nathan. So that was definitely one to watch back, with Bard in 4th, yourself in 5th, and myself in 6th. So we had a huge DRS train there as well.
Yeah.
But definitely some great racing and less strategy in our DRS train for sure, because it was just full send, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, you don't really have to worry about your ERS management in F2, do you? So it was absolute full send in Formula 2. And again, always fun in Formula 2. So make sure you tune in Wednesday for the Abu Dhabi F2, because Abu Dhabi F2 is absolutely mental every time. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah,
But
we could
yes,
make it 5 wide there, to be
oh
fair.
yeah, you
So
could. I mean, they have made it 4 wide in the past in real life F2, so it's not an impossibility. But yes, thank you to everyone who has watched, listened to this podcast. But that is it, us reviewing the Austrian Grand Prix. Don't forget that we have Abu Dhabi coming up next week. It'll be a great week of racing in Abu Dhabi. I really can't wait. But yes, thank you to everyone for watching and listening. I've been Dara, Atom has been Atom, and yeah, we'll see you next week when we do the review of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.